That intro video never gets old. I really like it.
It puts you in the mood.
It does. It does. Gets you going.
Welcome,
Very
everybody.
James Bond martini vibe.
Yeah.
For me, in a way.
Shaken, not stirred.
So we have official permission to start drinking?
Yes.
I think we do. It's
Everyone.
Thursday. It's
Yes.
happy hour. We have the newest member of our, I guess, quintet now. There's 5 of us with Britt behind the scenes.
Yeah. Fills the screen a lot better, too. I like
it's a nice even number.
Happy to complete the picture for y'all.
Yeah.
Catherine, tell everybody what you do, etc., etc.
Well, my name is Catherine Garrett Jabril. I'm the marketing manager for Premium Audio Company. So I have the fun opportunity to work on the positioning for all the awesome products that we put out for Klipsch and Yamo and for our receivers as well. So that's Onkyo, Pioneer, Elite, and Integra. So I get to work between our awesome product development team, which you obviously know, Mark and Vlad, but there's a couple others that are there. And the liaison between them and like our creative team and our sales team as well. So it's a lot of fun. I've been there for about a year and it's been a fun ride so far. I'm excited to be here.
I think it's fair to say you are an enthusiast now.
Exactly. I think that's very fair to say.
Yeah, very much so. And you have a lot of great input for us. We love your feedback.
Thanks.
So, and you're going to hear now some feedback from our fans, and we welcome everybody here. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a minute since we've done
Unfiltered masses, yes.
But we have new product. That's always a good reason for us to get back into the series because we have some really cool product coming, and then we're talking today about some really, really good stuff.
There's some amazing stuff where this is a deep dive on our powered speakers line. But before we get into that, I'd like to know, since it is happy hour and it's our listening lounge, welcome back anybody who's joining us again. And for those of you joining us for the first time, thank you so much for connecting. And we're looking forward to your comments. We've got a giveaway to talk about. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about what we're drinking because we have quite a variety from what I understand. Brittany behind the scenes, the guy in the chair, I like to call her, is she said she's drinking a beer. So standard beer.
Just beer.
Just beer.
Not to be confused with beer brewing beer, because that's a beer brewing company.
Two long E's.
Just beer.
What are you guys drinking?
I'm drinking a Bloody Mary in a very typical for me Friends glass.
Oh, nice.
That's just my general brand.
Very nice. I like the red straw as well.
Yeah.
That's a nice touch.
You know, I took the Spider-Man off of it.
Oh, well, yeah, the Spider-Man is absolutely necessary.
Well, it started getting soggy.
Just wet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you, sir?
Oh, me. Okay. Shorts Brewing Company Juicy Tree, an experimental IPA with blue spruce needles, juniper berries, and cranberries, which at first blush I thought was going to be terrible. And I'm pleasantly surprised. This is a really tasty IPA.
Pop quiz. Describe juniper flavor to me.
Evergreen.
I got nothing. It tastes like Christmas. It's
Christmas tree.
It's great.
Tastes like frankincense.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I got to commend you for purchasing something that had the word experimental in the title.
And it's called what again? What's it called?
It's Juicy Tree.
Juicy Tree.
That's great.
It's not bad. It's actually really flavorful.
You know, they laughed at the whole orange peel and coriander thing, and then Blue Moon went on to make $1 million just off of that flavor. So who knows? Maybe your forest dirt will catch on.
Exactly. And on that note, what variety of Three Floyds Brewing Company beer are you drinking today, Mark Casaman?
Barbarian Haze. Okay. And I think what attracted it to me in the store was the illustration. You know, this tank driver, just hilarious, just made me laugh. And I was like, well, it's got to be pretty good. You know, it's Three Floyds, who we've worked with. We're supporting them in their new facility with some audio, I believe. And yeah, I'm not disappointed. In fact, I shared it with my brother-in-law who lives in Germany. We were vacationing in Lake Michigan last summer, and you know he's an IPA guy. So I'm like, I'm going to bring him something I know he's never had. And we killed those beers right on the beach. And it was a very fun day jumping into Lake Michigan that day. It was awesome. But that was when I waited for him before I tasted it the first time, and we went deep with it. It was fantastic, a fun time. So here I am. Yeah, middle of winter, doing the same, reliving that.
It doesn't feel like winter in Indiana right now, does it?
No, it sure doesn't. It's unbelievable for February. It's unbelievable.
It's like
but go jump in Lake Michigan right now and see how that works out for you.
But we paid the price. I mean, we had didn't we have sub-zero in December? I mean, we had some -13 and -30 wind chill, and I mean, we paid in December. It was really February weather in December.
Yeah, I got a little crispy there for a little while.
And then we have Matt. I could guess what you're drinking.
Do you guys have any ideas?
I think it's a cab.
Okay.
And it's in a metal.
That's
is it
right.
a clip? What kind of cup is that?
Red wine in a metal cup.
Metal cup.
Now tell me, is that a new metal cup? This
is the one I started out with. When we first started doing these 17, 18 episodes ago. I started off with the small cup, and then I graduated to the big tumbler because we started extending the episodes, and I didn't want to refill.
That's fair.
I'm back down to my pre-COVID weight of wine. So we're just sipping a little out of the red wine out of a metal cup today.
I feel like that could be a country song.
Yes. Pre-COVID wine weight.
Yeah,
red wine in a metal cup. Music.
Man,
whether you love or hate country music, a lot of it is recorded really well.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. It's unlimited budgets down there in Nashville. It's very well recorded.
And unlimited talent. There's some amazing players.
I admit that I use there's Taylor Swift track that I like. It's super high resolution. Good quality. I know you all know.
Before we go any further, we should probably roll into product at this point.
Yeah, but these comments are hilarious, by the way.
Well,
Mike Dyer's comment. Oh my gosh.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So we can kick this off. Little cheers for the kickoff of the listening lounge. Thank you so much for joining us. I only have one little bit of housekeeping I would like to make to everybody, is that whether you are aware or not, the Klipsch Museum of Audio History is in conjunction with magazine designers and publishers and DJs Love Injection is launching or has launched a Kickstarter campaign to compile all of the Paul W. Klipsch Dope from Hope papers that he wrote and self-typed out himself to dealers and fans and enthusiasts from the 60s to the 80s. They're compiling every single issue that we have in a coffee table book as a Kickstarter right now. And you've got maybe 5 days left to order it. There will not be another reprint. There will not be any retail available. It's either sign up now and commit, or you won't be able to get one. So we're going to have somebody post the link to that Kickstarter. You just have to click the back this project button, and it'll let you pick whether you want one book, 2 books, 3 books, or whatever. So
So for the people that are savvy, Dope from Hope savvy, who've had it, I had it as a retailer. I wish I had those binders. You know, they call Hope Arkansas, and you get it sent to you. You know, and you could read up on all the brilliance of Paul Klipsch from his pioneering days up until the current day. But if you are savvy and you remember some of those, including you, of course, Matt, but Mike Dyer's on here, and there's some veterans on here. If you have one that you could, if if you can remember the title and you want to put it in there, I'd be very curious to see. I have one that's on the drum head. Okay. It was about dynamic range and the power of dynamic range and the way we hear it logarithmically and just the range of human hearing and dynamics, what we can handle. And it was, I'm pretty sure it was gnats on a drum. I think that it's you know, you're jogging my memory because I haven't flipped through the book in a while, but there are some that were so meaningful and really gave me a perspective of PWK and how he designed for the human hearing mechanism and how
his wit.
He
it was the foundation of audio, really.
And his storytelling ability, right? Yeah. Matt, he was an engineer, but he almost parables. He would almost talk in parables to get the message across. I mean, he really could reach people that really don't know much about engineering, but fantastic, fun, entertaining articles.
You guys should check it out. We'll post a link to it. But you got like 5 days to place your reservation for your order and commit to purchasing one, so that the Kickstarter can continue. But I just wanted to let everybody know that before we sink into the meat of this, which is today, we're talking about powered speakers. We were recently launching the 7s and 9s to complete the 5s with the 5s for the Klipsch powered speaker line. I thought maybe we'd open it up with the video that could answer some real quick questions and then get into the bigger details of it.
It's the 21st century tip.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Pretty cool.
Is my connection okay, Vlad?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
It's just I didn't want to miss any information I can glean about Dope from Hope, because that was some lunchtime reading in the engineering library in Indianapolis for a long period of time, and there's really great content there. So now it's all about hearing it secondhand from the employees that worked with him, like our chief bonehead, Mr. Roy Delgado.
Well, some of the key principles of Klipsch design philosophy he would communicate in a very entertaining manner, which of course helps education, helps people retain the message. But efficiency, how efficient is a loudspeaker? Inherently inefficient, especially the acoustic suspension variety, or even planar speaker designs, whether it's electrostatic or planar magnetic. I mean, just inherent electrical efficiency of designs. And then how his approach, I mean, he was truly a rebel. I mean, you had the East Coast, you had the West Coast, and then he's in the middle there in Arkansas, down there in Arkansas. I mean, you had people in Chicago too, but he was a rebel, and in even where he lived, and where he put down his roots, and in Hope, Arkansas, with the former army base. But him marching to his own drum beat. We often speak of that, even today. Klipsch as a brand, we do our own thing, and it's following his heritage and his legacy. But efficiency. Now we're talking about powered speakers now, and this is an opportunity for engineers to absolutely design every detail in the spirit of not just high resolution, high quality, high efficiency, low distort, but absolute purity. And efficiency, it's taken to another level because it's the total package. Every little detail is being designed. So
you're talking about the power part of it.
I'm talking about the power.
The power is designed for that speaker. Yes. So let's define powered speaker a little bit, if we can. Just what does that mean in today's world? I mean, Catherine, as a newbie to this sort of industry, what appealed to you about powered speakers?
I love how convenient they are, and it's really just a plug and play option that's well above a sound bar in terms of performance and just acoustic experience. And so for me, I have the 7s right behind me, you can see in my home office. So I love them for this setting where I can just have music streaming behind me while I'm working from home. And they just fit perfectly well, easy enough to use, not complicated to wire. It's just simplicity and efficiency. Yeah, I guess, and overall performance is what appealed to me. Like, I even had an old colleague reach out to me to ask, like, oh, which Klipsch soundbar would you recommend? And I was like, if you have the space for them, I would get powered speakers instead. Like, if you can't go full, like, Klipsch floor standards and everything, and just a full or even a 3-channel system, like, go for the powered. And he ended up going with the 5s and loves them. So I think that it's just I think that they are a flexible speaker too. Like, they're great for, like I said, in my home office, but they could work in a living room, in a bedroom, in a playroom, in a garage. So I just love the flexibility that we can move them around the house whenever it suits us.
That's very cool. And I'm sure in the design process, I mean, Mark and Vlad, you guys spent countless hours thinking about, not only would the success of the 5s and that platform, but then evolving it to something bigger, to have even a bigger soundstage. Again, defining what is a powered speaker. It's a speaker that has an amplifier in it. It's a speaker that has a variety of different ways to hook into it, whether it's wirelessly streaming or whether it has HDMI from the TV, or whether you're connecting to it through a variety of other sources like a turntable, plugging straight in. But being able to design that, going back to Mark's point of efficiency, what's cool about that whole package to me is that you guys, from the design standpoint, said this is the only component of the audio universe other than your phone, your TV, whatever the input is, right?
Yeah. The interesting thing is, like, we don't want to lose information over time. And we started this with Paul W. Klipsch and these Dope from Hope articles and his musings about audio. And the goal was always the same, right? It's a phenomenal reproduction of a live music experience in the best way possible. And you can have that at home. And I wanted to ask Mark, actually, your best guess, what would you think that Paul W. Klipsch would think of an active powered speaker? And it's sort of a leading question, because with our launch of the Jubilees and the active crossover network that we have for that speaker, that I kind of know where we're heading here and why it took so long to launch something like a Jubilee. So,
well, there's this other aspect of efficiency. I think it's called space efficiency. What are people willing to put in their space, and what are your expectations for sound reproduction with a compact system? Back in the late 90s, I actually sat in his office and I talked with him about the Quintet system, and then that eventually led to ProMedia, because those were some of my projects. And I actually had to sit in there, and some of the engineers were like, "You're brave, dude. You're brave." Because I we were talking about the horns and the little speakers, and then satellite speakers, and I said, "Hey, so Paul, what do you think? I mean, of a satellite speaker? This is kind of a relatively new, not brand new development in the audio industry, but what do you think? We're going to get in the game, and what do you think?" He goes, "Well, that's not really what I would consider a satellite speaker." His voice was, there were a lot of pauses that made me question my question, like, why am I going there with him? But he came back and he said, well, my version of a satellite would be a pretty sizable horn and a 15-inch driver, so that's his idea of a satellite. But you got to consider the K horn was a compact speaker in the day, and for what the I would say what the Jubilees do, they're also very compact. I mean, they're just so huge in their sound. But here, the benefits of digital technology, custom amplification, the high resolution digital domain and processing, the controls that you can incorporate in the digital domain, such as the equalization, dynamic range control, amplifier management. There's no passive network in these speakers. Each driver has its own amplifier. So the tweeters have their own amp, the woofers have their own amp. There are 4 amp channels. And it's efficient because you're reducing the lossy stuff. A passive network can be lossy. A lot of, lengths of speaker wire, theoretically can be lossy. Ideally, matching amplifiers to speakers, that's a fun little thing, I think, for hobbyists, audiophiles. They want to match their amp. There are a lot of tube amp fans out there who love to match their amps with our products, with Klipsch speakers. It's a beautiful marriage, by the way. But in this instance, it gives our engineers an opportunity to absolutely precisely custom match the components. And, Matt mentioned just all the different things you can connect. Catherine, I think what you said earlier, we should cut, print, check the gate, whatever the Grinch said, when he was imitating Ron Howard. But we could just send your message to the world about the benefits, because you really encapsulated it well. Vlad, what you said about the ultimate goal, the live music experience, absolutely. What space you have, we always want to deliver whatever size the product is, that the Klipsch will deliver the most dynamic, alive sound available in that category. That's what the Quintet did. Our small systems today, our compact systems do that. This line of powered digital monitors, I like to throw digital in there, they defy physics, really. They start to defy it. They start to defy what you expect out of a monitor that big. People love our RP600Ms, and you can throw a lot of power at them. You can get amazing performance out of them. When you get the 9s and the 7s, which are similar, right? 7s, and you've got that custom engineering in there, they start to bend your realization of what's possible with a speaker this size. I mean, you start to get levels of performance that you've never heard in something this size. And that kind of follows our philosophy, even our other passive products. I mean, they really go after a performance level that usually people expect out of much larger systems. And it comes down to this: Klipsch are just able to move more air with less effort, greater output, greater sensitivity with the given power level. I would even submit this, and this, when you get into the specs of these things, they're not going to tell you what they can do. And I'll give you an example. If you put 100 watts roughly into a powered monitor, what is that equivalent to in a passive system with an external amplifier? A lot more. It's kind of like horsepower. There's brake horsepower, and then there's wheel horsepower. Okay,
right.
I think I'm going to get Vlad.
Oh, this is good. Now you've got my attention.
So, brake horsepower. Oh, that's nice. But when you push it, Matt, come back here. So anyway, that's basically what's going on when you're pushing power through wires and crossover components. You're going to lose some of that by the time it gets to the driver and it's moving the air. In these systems, very efficient, very low distortion. The distortion out of the speaker is typical of what you may see out of electronics. Okay, it's in the 0.0%, whatever, and it's that clean. And then of course, when you turn them up and you crank them up for a party, they're going to behave. You're not going to be
they're
blowing
horn loaded. It's right. Effortless. There's a couple of things I want to point out. We talked about what would Paul Klipsch say or think about this. One, I think he would say, does it make it more efficient And yes, you are building an amplifier that is just for these speakers. That's incredibly more efficient. And then 2, he would say, does it sound good? Does it sound real? And these absolutely do. They have so much energy in the speaker themselves. The times that I've got to demo the 7s and the 9s, it has blown me away. Not only the sound stage, but I mean, look at the horn. It's an edge-to-edge horn. It's a beautiful creation, and they are specifically made for what they do, which is to take any source that you give to them. So I tend to phrase them or categorize them as sort of this glorious Swiss Army knife, that whether you're throwing a TV signal into it, or whether you're throwing a turntable signal, or whether you're Bluetoothing to the speakers or whatever, they're giving you back the best that you possibly can. And you don't have to fiddle with receiver settings. You don't have to fiddle with, is this what size speaker is it to match my amplifier to the speakers? It's all built in to do that for you, with some really cool tactile knobs on top.
It's audiophile quality for people that aren't audiophiles, don't want to be an audiophile, don't want the cables, don't want the wires. Catherine, whomever, but it's going to give you this level of audio quality that's going to spoil you and ruin you for any other equipment.
But
that's the beauty of it.
I think that's disparaging to some degree, because it isolates the audiophiles to like, oh, this isn't for you. Actually,
I'm just having fun. I'm having fun.
I would say
no, it definitely is for them,
and
of course it is.
I would say the exact opposite. Like with amplifier matching, sure, that's one thing. And when we say flexibility, there's flexibility for Catherine or the rest of us, which is just simply I plug it into HDMI ARC on my television and it works, and it's great.
Yeah,
it sounds awesome.
That's
and then
the beauty
I
of it.
Connect via Bluetooth, and it also works. And guess what? Wi-Fi is sweet. But I've walked around my entire house connected to Bluetooth to these 7s, playing audio loud and proud, and it works throughout the entire house. There's no dropouts. There's no connectivity issues. There's no anything. And the sound quality, the capabilities that we have with the active DSP amplification is to do some otherworldly things that you can't do with a passive speaker matched up to a piece of electronics, because we have DSP and compressors. So now we can skew our woofer to do really subwoofer bass type stuff, and we don't have to worry about the fact that, oh man, what's the efficiency of this woofer and this horn loaded tweeter? That's always a problem in the passive speaker. You have to make the system work together, then you have to do it with effectively a passive crossover. We don't need to do that because we can control the gain structure. So we can give you that equal loudness curve. We can give you that lower bass extension at normal listening volumes. And then when you crank it, it's safe. It's never going to distort because we've got compressors, we've got limiters, we've got DSP reining everything in, and it's doing it by driver, by frequency, and wherever you want it to be.
You see this picture right here, Vlad? You see that picture?
Yes.
How many ads have we seen in magazines where the newest products, it could be a floor standard, it could be whatever, it could be a home theater, this is the setup, and like, no, that's not the setup. You got wires, you got an amplifier, you got an AVR, you got all this other stuff that you're not showing.
Right.
That is not truthful. But in this picture, this is truthful because you've got a wire between the speakers and you need a power cord, which easily could be behind the TV. You could have a setup like this in reality. And the point that I was making is that it is the 23rd century. This product line eliminates, I don't know if the word is excuse, but maybe the procrastination to get great sound in your house.
Yeah.
Because of the complexity it was required before. Now it's easy as pie, and you can have the best resolution of modern technology available today. So it's a win-win-win. Win-win-win.
And John Knight just asked, built-in high-res DAC. Yes. 192, 24 via USB, via optical. You look at Bluetooth, and we have AAC and aptX HD and everything you would need to not even think about it. You plug it in. You want to play music? Go for it. It's going to sound great. You want to
Yep.
Go and buy a WIM Mini high-res streamer and plug it into the optical input and set pass-through to 192.24. It's going to work. And what's going to happen is as soon as you send music to it, it's going to wake up, it's going to go to the right input, it's going to be high-res, and it's going to sound great because what we're doing is we're trying to condense this barrier to entry effectively.
And the media is coming from so many different ways. If you've got if you've got an iPad, what was it called before the iPhone? An iPod. Thank you. If you had an iPod click wheel with an aux out, this will take an aux in the back of it, and you just plug it in and go.
Yeah. And if you're streaming high res, if you've got Tidal or Qobuz or whatever, when you've paid for the master quality audio or the higher res files, you're going to actually benefit from that higher quality of streaming music content through these speakers because they'll accept that higher resolution, and you're going to get all the quality you've invested in. I mean, if you love your music, you love your music, and you want to hear it as best as possible. That's what these allow you to do. And Mark Rantasha, yes, this room is full of wires and everything too. I do like wires, but I do love these things. I've got some drums in the basement, and I put some 7s down there with one of those WIM micros or minis, and to hit a playlist that I've loaded up in Tidal and to be able to drum along with it with these things like the 7s, and they hit so hard. I'm looking at all the wires and the equipment I have. I'm like, oh my goodness. If my wife finds out about this, I'm gonna have this is all gonna be on the curb, and then she's like, you keep those, but these that's got to go.
Right. Well, I'd like to take a second and ask a couple of questions to the three of you. We want to talk a little bit about what's going on the back end of these speakers. What's happening on the booty side, on the bass side? What kind of bass compensation are we having? What kind of bass management are we having? And then beyond that, what if I wanted to add a subwoofer? What
now we're talking.
Oh boy.
All right, Vlad, you take the first part.
Jeez. Well, it's funny. You ask a good question. What's going on the bass side? So first of all, the 7s, they're about the same size as a set of RP 600Ms, which normally are my favorite set of speakers because you get everything you need, and then you take the bass and you move that over to a subwoofer. However, on the 7s, not to mention the 9s, which are in their whole separate level of bass reproduction, the 7s have quite a robust woofer. That woofer is a bit more capable. It has a bit more magnet than the best of the best 6.5-inch woofers that we have. And that is particularly to get excursion, to get that low frequency response. And compared to a set of 5s, going up from a 5-inch driver to a 6.5, kind of big reward in the bass department, more than 10 hertz lower extension. Next comes, well, how do we set up the bass so it's great out of the box? And it's one of those things, it depends who you ask, right? So if you go to any professional reviewer, they're looking for a neutral presentation of what that product sounds like. And then you go to our testing group and you send out 50 of these speakers and you find out what they actually set it to. And from out of the box, we set these speakers to try to be as neutral as possible, effectively, in our best guess, which is there's a lot of factors involved in taming bass in different environments. Mark and I were talking about this earlier. Free field response outside is going to be very different to a large living room, is going to be very different to a medium-sized home office, is going to be very different to positioning your speakers up against the wall, on a countertop, or on a set of speaker stands pulled away from the wall. So what we tried to do is appease the professional reviewers by giving you a natural frequency response when the speakers are standing on a set of speaker stands a little bit pulled away from the wall. That means what happens with the average person, which we have some statistical significance of. People love bass, and it's fine because These are toys that you're supposed to enjoy. The entire purpose is that you can enjoy your music, movies, and content. And who am I to say how you enjoy that?
You can make them bump if you want.
Exactly. So there's a couple of features that are built into Klipsch Connect that give you the right tools to crank the bass to wherever you want it to be. So the first of which is room placement or speaker placement compensation. In the Klipsch Connect app, you have the ability to set whether you have these things up against the corner, up against the wall, or free space. By default, they're set up for free space, so it gets you a little bit of a warmer performance. Part two is this image on the screen, dynamic bass EQ. Are you actively listening at reference volumes, or are you passively listening to great music in the background? You know, you're working, you've got a set of these speakers, you want to play some music, you want it at relatively low volumes. Well, what dynamic bass EQ is, it'll apply some loudness correction and give you that warm and fuzzy feeling from all your favorite music at moderate listening volumes. When you crank up the volume, your ears hear bass differently. So we take that into consideration and take it into account. And what I was getting at the beginning, professional reviewers, they see so many speakers, they want them to sound neutral and flat. But real people that use them at home, they're going to turn on bass, they're going to turn on dynamic bass EQ, and now you're going to have something that you love. Klipsch Connect lets you customize that. Now, next is the subwoofer handling. Again, we're simplifying things to a T, and we're doing it in a way because honestly, audio and passive speakers and audio video receivers, it could be confusing and daunting. It wasn't until I started working at Klipsch where I had this wealth of knowledge where I can go to an engineering team and say, hey, what should the crossover be when I hook up a speaker to a pair of RF82s? I think that was one of the first questions I asked Mark when I met him, because I knew he would know the right answer. And then I corroborated that question and answer with one of our chief engineers, Chris Parents. And both were a little different, and it spawned a great discussion. And I didn't get that. What we do is we help you by setting the right crossover from the get-go. So for the 7s and 9s, as an example, as soon as you plug in a subwoofer, 60 hertz crossover. That's what we recommend. Stick with it.
Well, it's automatic. Yeah, it's automatic. You see that little the RCA input right there, the black.
Yep.
The
sub
black.
out.
Yeah, that's the sub out. So yeah, it automatically engages, and you can hear it. I mean, you could just plug a wire. I mean, an RCA cable into it, interconnect without it connected to a sub, and you'll hear the crossover engage the high pass filter. Right, the low cut in the speakers, in the powered speakers, you'll hear that immediately that it pulls some of the deep bass out because it's going to let the sub do it. Just by plugging it in, it automatically engages, which is kind of nice. You don't have to fuss with it.
Does that add efficiency then to the speaker themselves because the bass is offloaded?
Well, I can tell you, I'll just give you a little anecdote. I did a little test at my middle daughter's social recently, 7th and 8th grade, and she put together the playlist. It's actually a really good playlist. It's going to become the pool party mix this summer. But here's what I did. You know, when you want to use these for a party, I put them in flat mode. I cut out the dynamic bass because I think when you turn it up, it's like it's all there, mids, highs, and bass. It's all there, and then when you add a sub, I had an older, like an SPL 120, and it filled this hall. I was blown away. It not only filled it, but it was precise and clean. The highs were crisp. There's nothing worse when a DJ is using a system that's really a PA system, and then the highs are harsh. They tear your head off, and you're like, yeah. I like that song until I heard it through your system, which sucks. You know, I mean. All the kids were like, this sounds so good. And then they kept saying, turn it up. Because it was so clean. They're like, turn it up. I'm like, let's go. We'll turn it up. And I cranked it. And it allows you to do that, Matt. You know, when you have a sub doing a little bit of the heavy lifting on the low end, it allows you to get more dynamics out of the mains. So they have a little bit of a dual personality. They can be a near field, very intimate sounding, warm, close space kind of product. They can enhance movies, you like bass for movies. If you want Top Gun Maverick to hit hard, you want a little bass compensation in there, and it's going to make those F-18s rock. I dug that movie. It's pretty strong. And the soundtrack, the emotion of music, you got to feel it, right? But then when you've got 30, 40, 50 people in your house, have you ever noticed this, that when you've got crowd noise, suddenly you have to compensate with your system. If you want to hear the hi-hat, or if you want to hear the highs, you want to hear the bass line, you're going to hear the vocals, but you got to bump it up at the ends of the spectrum. It's just what happens in a dynamic crowd level noise. So you're kind of using this really like a DJ system. This product has the headroom, the dynamic headroom, to get that job done, especially if you have a sub connected. It's amazing what this product can do. And it really simplified my setup. I didn't have to drag amplifiers, a mixer. I just had the playlist on an iPad and I just let it go. It was fantastic. I had so much fun.
I've got a comment to make about that. First of all, I love the idea of you being a DJ, and then for the entire neighborhood, you're like the Kool-Aid house where all the kids show up. But I love that idea. But the thing about being able to DJ, first of all, I haven't had 60 people in my house, I don't think, ever. So that's awesome, Mark, that you're rocking out the block.
60 per usual.
But the thing that a lot of people don't understand about the powered speakers is if you are in the media production, if you have a home recording studio, if you have a professional recording studio, powered monitors have been the way of life for a very long time, because you just plug in your computer to it, you plug in your DAC for your input, whatever you're using for to be able to get your instruments and your microphones into the computer. But then the powered monitors are just set it and forget it. You just leave them like they are.
That's experience talking, people. That's what's
actually happening on either side here. But that's been like for a very long time. But the idea of media production, if you wanted to say, for instance, that you're producing pieces for something that you're doing correspondence, you can set up in a hotel room with a pair of powered monitors and completely mix a movie if you have to. So there's something really cool about that I guess those of us on the pro side have known for a little while. But being able to plug this into the home side, that anything with a screen you can plug these speakers into, and even just using your phone screen or using it for video games or whatever, you can have this quality audio with bass that goes all the way down and highs that soar through the roof without having to have any other gear. I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I think for me, my favorite part about it is that it just has such a tight and refined soundstage, to the point where like they're upstairs in my home office, but if I'm playing my current favorite playlist, which is full of Afro beats, which are like deep and punchy and just very clear, like on the bass side, I'm having a party upstairs in my office, but my husband downstairs is none the wiser. Like, it's not affecting him at all, because they just don't consume the whole house. So I think that it just makes sense to have them in your home applications. Because for me, I'm playing, high res. Sometimes I'm on Tidal, but a lot of times I'm on Apple Music and getting some Dolby spatial audio, as they're calling it now, tracks in there. And I'm playing via Bluetooth and just getting amazing quality. And it's just crystal clear, like you said, Mark. And I think that is really what makes your music experience, especially when you're looking for something Bluetooth or flexible. Like, the last thing you want is something with a weak connection that's just not giving you the performance that you're looking for with the music that you love. And that's just the last thing that we would want to do here at Klipsch. Like, you definitely want to back it with the power that we can.
So the question for all of you, when you unpacked them for the first time, what was the first thing you connected? And what was the first song you listened to? Whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Catherine, you go first.
What was my first song?
What'd you connect to it, and what did you listen to?
I would say my first song, I connected via Bluetooth first and played, I think, probably to have a little dance party was Essence by WizKid.
I gotta write that down.
It's a fun song. You'll love it.
All right. See?
That'll definitely get your next block party.
New music. Yep.
So I'll
Matt,
I'll
how
throw
about you?
out there. So I always listen to new speakers or any gear for the first time with a song that I have produced myself, because I'll know it intimately and it will tell me what the speakers are doing. And so I have a recent track. My friend Bob Sander recorded a version of the Tennessee Ernie Ford song 16 Tons, that instead of the snare drum, we used an 808 kick for, and it goes all the way down. And so I plugged that in. And it was a fantastic experience. But as far as commercially purchased music, the Art of Noise's Moments in Love is a great song because of the evolution. It's a very long song, so very repetitive song. So I can really hear what the speakers are doing, especially on the high end, with a lot of tonal stuff happening up there. It's easy to tell whether it's just noise or whether there's actually some sound congealing. So that's the second track I always listen to.
Was that via Bluetooth, or how'd you do it?
I did it via Bluetooth. Actually, just Bluetooth right into it, because that'll tell me right away whether they sound any good or not. Because if you can hear the Bluetooth artifacts, then the speaker is revealing enough.
So, what was your music also via Bluetooth?
It was. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, Vlad, you're up.
It was not Bluetooth. First time took them out of the box, plugged them into my LG C2 TV via HDMI ARC, and then there's actually a speaking of which, it now thinks I'm talking to it. That's the beauty of things that have microphones. And I think I turned on the Dolby app. There's like a Dolby Summit app that kind of hangs out on Apple TV. And it's got 3 tracks at the bottom of it, which are good Dolby demos, because they're typically in Dolby Atmos and they get loud and they're really cool. So I cranked one of those because I wanted the proof of 180 degrees of sound coverage is halfway to 360, and it's awesome. And like what we're trying to do is seldom perceived as a powered monitor. I feel like powered monitors are used on desktops with computers and in mixing studios. And that's great, but for like all the same reasons that it's great in that scenario, why can't you take a pair of speakers as opposed to a sound bar, or as opposed to nothing at all, and have an amazing, good looking setup that everybody will be happy to have in their living room? That, sure, does it have Dolby Atmos? No, but you know, your TV that you bought, like this LG, it advertises that it has Dolby Atmos in its built-in speakers that are firing into the wall. That's not a Dolby Atmos experience. My iPhone says it has Dolby Atmos. Okay, yeah, I get it, but let's go with the fundamentals, where there's a tweeter on top and a woofer on the bottom, and they're spaced like 6 to 15 feet apart to the left and right of your television, and give me that for a second. And I listen to music.
It's called stereophonic reproduction.
Yeah, how about that? I think one of you folks is actually quite involved in making stereophonic reproductions.
Stereophonic is 3-dimensional. Stereophonic is you have 2 ears, you can do it with 2 speakers, and you can create a 3-dimensional, it can move behind you. That's what stereophonic means. You know, stereo doesn't mean 2-channel and boring. It means 3-dimensional and immersive, and a proper system will do that. So kudos for bringing that up. Good job.
It was different. And then after that, it was PlayStation 5, Gran Turismo 7 for the foreseeable 120 hours that I played.
And did it place a good image like on your screen? Because it'll do that.
Behind me right now is a 5.1.2 setup, because I just took my 7s and took them down to the basement to put up something else. And I could have sworn to you that there was a center channel there. And the best part is not only that, but the center channel. And when you're hearing, especially in a lot of new content, and some of it is mixed incredibly, like with Dolby Atmos and what we're seeing with Last of Us and some of these new shows, not only was the image dead center and it was at the right height as the characters that were talking, but I could even scene to scene tell that the person that's giving the dialogue or the scene is now reversed. So now it's center, now it's slightly to the left, now it's slightly to the right.
So it's moving with the camera.
It was moving with the camera, and I mean, I thought I had my RP 500C on, and somehow mysteriously it was producing audio, even though this thing has no ability to connect to a center channel.
I was going to ask you about that, whether the center channel image, because we've talked a lot about hooking these up to TV to get really sort of that impactful cinematic experience. Very simply, it's just a single HDMI cable and you're ready to go. But from a dialogue standpoint, I would assume that the size of the horn and the clarity on the upper mid range and the high end is just outstanding with these.
Yeah, they sound phenomenal, and I think they're kind of like my go-to tool to try to put a smile on anybody's face that has ever experienced either I can't tell the dialogue from my movies, or I really wish my music could sound better. And there's so many products out there that have a nightmare of bells and whistles, and all of these bells and whistles need the right configuration or trying to do some things. And that's what I was getting at, that my TV has Dolby Atmos, my phone has Dolby Atmos, but there are varying degrees of experience that you can get. Sure. And if you hear it, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. We took a studio monitor or a desktop monitor and we gave it HDMI ARC, and we were one of the first to do that. And that was for the reason of, try this in your living room where a pair of speakers belong. That's why there's still a big following for 2-channel audio. If you're listening to music, that'll do. That'll be great. When you're listening to a band, guess what? They're in front of you 99% of the time. So you don't need them around you or up and above. 2-channel is it.
Well, it's cool when your TV remote turns the speakers down,
Hey, we have an additional joiner who has joined the live stream.
What's up, guys? This is Woody.
Woody?
Sorry, I'm a little late here. I just got back from a meeting, so I was chatting with Brittany and told her I'd hop on for a few.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us and supporting the brand. We're talking about powered speakers. Can you give us a little bit of your insight as your experience with the Klipsch 7s and 9s?
Yeah, I actually just recently got a pair of the 9s in from you guys, and I've been playing with them for about a week now. And man, so far, really, really happy with these speakers. People are loving seeing them online on the various forums and social media and stuff. So it's a really exciting product.
Mark just asked us a great question that I'll repeat to you. What was the first thing you played, and how did you connect up to the speakers?
Let's see. First thing I played. Let's see. I usually start off with some David Bowie. It's usually my go-to. My musical taste is pretty wide, so I'll usually end up hitting like some Disney songs and some musical scores. So I kind of hit about everything in there. And I just went straight Bluetooth, straight from my iPad, and it's great. Popped into the app and played with the presets and the room modes and everything like that. And it's really cool. There's just a lot of customization, and they sound awesome just straight out of the box.
Are you guys seeing more of an appetite for powered speakers as opposed to AVR setups, or as opposed to people that maybe want to graduate from a sound bar?
Yeah, I think that's a big place for them. There is the graduating from the sound bar. You still have that ease of use, just not having to deal with the wires and the power and all the additional stuff. Just plug them in, plug the wire between the two, and you're just up and running, good to go. It's super easy to connect everything I have. And so, yeah, and then having the HDMI ARC is just awesome because you can have your game consoles, your streaming devices, everything going.
Well, it was very interesting to me when we had made the fives, and the fives were out for a while, and they got rave reviews, and people just love them. I'm currently working in the studio configuration using them as near field monitors, but I've also tilted them on their sides because it's a 90 by 90 horn, so it's really easy to just flip on the side or tuck in a way, and you could almost tuck them in as like a soundbar configuration under the TV on the console, whatever. But as we get into the sevens and nines, when Vlad said we were going to make the sevens, I thought, well, that's going to be a considerable jump in size. And then when we heard about the nines, I'm like, those are much bigger than the ones. You guys did a comparison of the different sizes. But how do you feel about they seem like a big bookshelf speaker, the nines do, but it doesn't seem so big that it should be a floor. You know what I mean? It feels like just like right on the edge of being like a real cool form factor versus should I get a floor standing speaker? But we currently don't make a large floor standing powered speaker. I don't know if we would.
Yeah. And I've already had a ton of comments from people saying, when are these going to be available as a passive speaker? People have that itch for the 8-inch driver on their bookshelves, so I think just these have a lot of people excited for that idea alone.
That's awesome. We totally had different sales expectations, by the way. We know that our top selling reference Premier speaker is a dual 8-inch floor, big as it gets. Okay. Yep. And our second most popular speaker is a 6.5-inch bookshelf, the RP 600M. So it was a total shoe-in that, if we take that same form factor and we power it and we give it more bass extension and all the tools that you need, like this is an ideal 2-channel setup. The nines currently, if I'm not mistaken, are outselling the sevens like 4-1.
Are they? Wow.
Now we don't have that much data because they haven't been out for an extended period of time. But the first time we saw the nines, we were like, well, that's a big bookshelf.
Yeah.
And then the first time we turned it on, it was like, oh, that's a big bookshelf. So they definitely do what a lot of floor standing speakers can't, honestly, with the power. So it's been pleasantly surprising that an 8-inch bookshelf could potentially be successful. So let you be known that between Mark and I, we are going to go back to the drawing board and take a look and see how the nines do versus the sevens, and a passive bookshelf that's about that size isn't out of the question. I'm not making any promises.
Right.
Isn't out of the question.
Yeah, be careful what you say on YouTube.
Yeah. Like, hey, you told me on this day.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, thank you, Woody, for joining us. Appreciate you so much jumping in. And we want to do it. Want to put in a quick plug for sending everybody to the store?
Sure. Yeah. If you guys just want to check me out, I actually have nothing to sell. I'm just on social media. You can find me at Woody's Sound Up on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everything like that. And just out here having fun and showing off the cool speakers like the Klipsch, the 9s and the 7s.
That's
awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, guys. Thank you.
Want to remind everybody to please comment on the 7s and 9s in the comment section. We will be giving away a pair of the 7s to best comment. Throw out a tagline for how you would market these speakers. What would you place them in as a tagline, or maybe a brand tagline or something along those lines? Give us a little bit of your wit. Let's see what you think. And then the winners, just to clarify for legal, the winners will be picked by Brittany Kelly. So she will award the winner a pair of 7s and notify you post-show.
Yep.
And if you're mad you didn't win, now you know who to talk to.
Thanks, Matt. Guess who that's from? Yeah.
Right. That's my CYA.
No pressure.
You also know now who to bribe for future episodes.
Oh my gosh.
One last plug of a very good question someone asked. It said, I have Klipsch 5s and I want to connect my Klipsch subwoofer. What should phase setting be for the subwoofer?
That's an easy answer.
Whatever you got is currently plugged in. Plug them in, start playing music, go to your listening position, open up the Klipsch Connect app, and pick the one that sounds better, because you can flip the phase 180 degrees directly from the Klipsch Connect app while you're listening to music in your listening position.
You'll either get bass or no bass.
Yeah.
Well, set your sub to 0.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever your sub is, and then you can sit in your position and listen to the
exactly. So
Pretty
either
cool.
reverse it twice to take it back to 0, or start with 0 and 180. The most important part, and what I really enjoy about the speakers, is you can sit in your listening position while listening to content and be able to dial in your sub.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
key.
cool. Pretty cool.
So, a couple of things. I'm just going to do a little lightning round here real quick with some comments about these speakers. We're talking again about powered speakers, specifically the 7s and the 9s, which are out now. We've talked about the custom amp. We've talked about the efficiency. We've talked about the ability to connect almost anything to these speakers. One thing I want to mention is the premium materials that they're made from. These things are handcrafted with real wood finishes. They've got real metal tactile controls. It's real fabric grills. It's not a big plastic thing. And there's real cork pads on the bottom as well. So
do you have any pictures, Matt? Show us?
We'll throw some pictures up there, but these things are really made very
from
well.
The top?
So they're gorgeous.
Yeah. I like the walnut, actually. The walnut is really nice. The contrast with the metal controls, very cool, very nice.
Yeah, and it has a nice feel to it, and it's genuine wood veneer, so it definitely blends in with your furniture. As good as any Heritage speaker, I would say. Now, it's a slightly different veneer than the Bookmatch veneer that you get with Heritage speakers, but it looks phenomenal. It's very consistent.
It's beautiful,
and it's naturally finished.
Yeah, and the cork on the bottom, I was just gonna say, is so convenient because you don't have to put little rubber stick-ons, and the stands that we've got coming.
Oh, you let the cat out of the bag right there.
Did you actually say that?
I might have.
Why the person that puts embargoes out is on the call?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
Shut it down, Brittany. Shut it down.
Hang out. Yep, I'm trying to, give a little,
I thought we were keeping you to a 1 beer policy. This.
I guess it doesn't matter. You know what?
There was a whole talk about
He's DJing for preteens. He's having a great time.
It's an alcohol-free beer for you next time. We're dialing it down even more.
Yep, we're gonna have a tea set.
There's great stuff coming, people. Great stuff coming.
I want to thank all of you for joining us. Again, thanks for everybody who came back or anybody who's joined us for the first time. We love all of your comments. We will award in the thread the winner of the 7s. I'd like to thank Catherine for joining us for the first time. We look forward to many more of these with you. It's been fantastic. And as always, Vlad, Mark, thank you guys, my comrades in crime. Cheers to you guys.
Yeah. Cheers. Oops. Okay.
That explains it.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Have a good one. See ya.
Have a great night.